Do you ever feel like you're juggling 100 things at once? You've got emails, washing, to-do lists, and somehow you still feel like nothing's getting done? Well, in this episode of The Brain Changes, we're talking about the surprising link between your physical clutter and your mental clutter. Because sometimes it's not just your mindset that's the issue. It's the chaos on your kitchen bench, your overflowing inbox, or the mental load that you're carrying that no one else can see. We'll explore how clearing physical space can actually reset your brain, reduce overwhelm, and help you show up as a calmer, more focused version of yourself. This conversation might just be the permission slip you didn't know you needed to stop doing everything and start feeling more in control. Welcome to The Brain Changes, a podcast about learning how to revolutionize the way you think and live by mastering your mind. We're your hosts, mother and daughter duo Rebecca and Yvonne King from Moonbeam Monday. Our goal is to empower you to live the life you choose by teaching you how to retrain your brain. Some people tell us it sounds like mind control, and it is, but not the way you might think. This is about you taking control of your own mind, rather than letting your mind control you, so you can choose to live a life free from the expectations of others. No matter what you've experienced in the past, you can create positive change and transformation by learning how to master your mind. We know this because we've done it. Between us, we've survived cancer and stroke and eliminated debilitating anxiety and depression. We've turned our pain into purpose through the power of our mind, and we're now here to support and guide you to do the same. In this podcast, we share valuable insights about how your brain works, why you think, say, and do the things you do, how to begin the process of change, and why it's necessary. Because we know that when you change your mind, you change your life. Thanks for joining us. Let's go. Welcome to The Brain Changes, the podcast where we explore what it really takes to change your life from the inside out by rewiring your thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors. And today I'm here with a special guest, Bridget Johns. Now, Bridget is a life organizer, and I absolutely love that term. We're going to find out more about that. A declutter coach and the founder of Be Simply Free. Through her signature method, she helps women reduce the mental load by decluttering their homes, schedules, and their minds one step at a time. With a background in strategic planning and a passion for positive psychology, Bridget teaches her clients how to stop being the keeper of everything and start living with more clarity, calm, and confidence. And I already love that because they're three words that I use all the time. Bridget, welcome to the Brain Changes.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm really excited to chat to you today. Even just this morning, I was having a conversation with a client about having that full mind and that overwhelm that takes over and having to be everything for everyone. So the fact that you actually talk about helping people let go of that is really exciting for me. So I'm thinking maybe we could start a little bit with just having you share your decluttering journey. I know you talk about from stress to less, which is kind of exciting and I think is piquing a few people's interests. So tell us a little bit about how you got here.
Yes, well, I was definitely one of the people that was doing all the things and not having enough time to do it and burning myself out. So, if I think back, I am actually a city girl. I'm originally born and bred in Adelaide and moved to the country for a job straight out of university and love the life I live here. I live on a farm on the York Peninsula of South Australia
Mhm.
on a broadacre cropping farm and sheep property, and with my husband and two kids that are 11 and 13 now. But what happened was I am a planner, I'm an organizer, I love to optimize my time. And when there's less time commitments, when maybe you're a bit single and you think you're tired, then I definitely found when I had two kids that I was just adding more and more and more into my life and expecting myself to be able to do everything, which wasn't possible. So when I'd come back from maternity leave from my second child, I think my kids were around 1 and 3, I realized that I couldn't do it all. I was expecting myself to work a part-time work life, but expecting myself to do a full-time load. I
Yeah.
was carrying all the things at home, not because my husband wouldn't do it, but because I expected myself to be doing it. And I was doing it when I was on maternity leave and just didn't let go of those extra responsibilities. And my work life was around engagement and well-being in the education sector. And at a meeting talking about Are You OK Day, it was ironically a brainwave for me thinking, oh my goodness, I'm not going to be okay if I keep going on this trajectory. And jumping into the car and bursting into tears in the safety and away from the work environment, I realized that I had to let go of some things in my work life and my personal life to look after me. So that's probably where Be Simply Free started, my own personal journey. And from that crying in the car, the first call I made, being in a work setting, was to my boss. And just luckily, she was super supportive, and I was able to talk to her about how I was feeling. And we really decluttered my work life first and what
Yeah.
my commitments were and what I could actually achieve in a part-time workload, and get some admin support to help around those things which weren't my area of genius and other people could take the lead on. And then I went home and had some tears to the husband as well. And we did the similar process of talking about how I was feeling, what I expected myself to do. And then he was very willing to take on some of those responsibilities. And we looked and divided some tasks in our personal lives as well. So that's how it started. And I've continued to do that evolution as the kids move from toddlers to school life. And now we're sort of in the teen and preteen life. And by really stopping, focusing, and noticing, I talk about stop, focus, notice often, I was able to strip out what we didn't need to keep doing so I could free up my time in my personal and work life so we could do what really mattered. So then we could free up time to collect moments, not things. And as I shared my journey of what was working for us, that's how it's evolved into Be Simply Free. And now I support other women all over Australia, New Zealand, and some over in the UK as well to work out what's the right thing for their life and their season of life as well. So, personal journey has led
Yeah.
to a passion project, which has led to supporting others to do the same thing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And I love asking my guests that journey because so often it comes from that personal journey, doesn't it? Where we end up, what we're doing, especially those who help others. And I am sure that a lot of people, a lot of women are going to be they're going to be hearing this going, oh my goodness, I've had that moment in the car. I've had that moment where I've realized I can't do it all and something needs to change. And sometimes it's just nice to hear somebody else who is successful or appears successful because sometimes we see things on social media, especially, and we think, how are they doing it all? But there is actually a strategy and a method behind those types of things. And that was a couple of notes I just made there. One, you had that moment, but you asked for help, right? That's
Yes.
such an important part, and sometimes it can be very hard to do, but it actually led you down a wonderful path. You clearly had a really supportive boss, and then you communicated. Communication's such an important thing, and it's so wonderful that you've got a really supportive hubby behind you. I love how you call him Mr. Farmer on social media. And then the other thing I took from that, one step at a time. So, your boss helped you with the work side of things. And then you were able to work with Mr. Farmer to start stripping away some things at work as well. Because I think we can think that we need to jump in and do everything all at once. But actually, that really makes us trip up most of the time and makes things a little bit harder. So, um, some great tips there for everyone. And that stop, focus, notice, what a great 3 steps to actually take people through. So, with that, with the people that you work with, what would you say are the most common themes or pain points that you see with them with this mental overload, whether it be at work or at home or even in the digital space.
Yes, it is really a key thing that people come to me with is they're the one that knows it all and it's hard to get it out of their brain. As
Yeah.
I mentioned with my maternity leave, I was the one that took the 10 months off and I was home with the kids. Like I didn't know how to be a parent, but I learnt by doing and practicing and I got better at it quicker because I was doing it day in, day out. And with the things in our life, how we set our home up, a lot of the time it can be us as women setting up the systems or working out what goes where in our homes. And a lot of it can be kept in our head. And if we're not communicating with the people that are using the spaces, they can just default to asking us, where's the source? Where's the so
Mm,
and so in the back of the cupboard? Or where do I find the pots and pans and things like that? And if we haven't had a system which shows people, maybe with some labels or explain to the people in our home, we become that default of asking and being asked all the time, where is everything is. So that's probably a key thing that I find with clients. They feel like that the whole life organization comes down to them and they're not communicating with others to give them the power to be able to make decisions on their own. And the
yeah.
other thing is we get a lot of enjoyment and dopamine hit from buying new things. And with the way the world is set up, you can now press go on your phone. And if you're in a metro area, probably something can be delivered within half an hour or 2 hours. A bit harder for us out here in the country.
Yeah.
And we can be buying more things from those cheaper websites, and we're getting more and more stuff coming into our home. And when there's more stuff, it gets more overwhelming. And if there's no homes for things, things build up, and that cycle continues of overwhelm for the things around us. So when I'm working with my clients, it's definitely a mix of that mental and physical clutter that they're experiencing. And we take the time to stop, focus, notice, and see what is the right amount of stuff to have in people's homes. I talk about being a sentimental minimalist. So I will always have things surrounding us that we truly love and excite us. But it's not about having a blank white house. It's
Mm.
choosing to surround yourself with things that work for you. And then different personality types and neurodivergence will need different access and being able to see things in a different way. So there's so much to it and it excites me so
Yeah.
much to talk to people. And I like to be the person that can give people some different ways of thinking about things, and then people take the power and choose what's going to work in their life and trial different things to work out what the right thing for them is.
Yes, thinking differently. I mean, that's what we're all about, isn't it? Because we fall into these habits, these patterns as we go along in life. It's simply how our brain works and how we're conditioned. And it does take effort to stop, focus, and notice to actually focus on something different or challenge our brain even to think a different way. And I often talk to my clients about, let's just thank your brain for doing its job and doing it really well, perhaps a little bit too well. But then, okay, thank you, but I'm choosing to think differently or to say something differently or to do something differently. And I actually really love that bit that stood out to me is having a decluttered home. It's not just about having a big blank white canvas. I think that is a bit of a myth, isn't it? That if we've got white walls and clean surfaces, that, everything's going to be fabulous. But if you're somebody like me who loves color, and or somebody who loves having personal photographs around, then we're going to feel a bit perhaps empty or unfulfilled in a blank white environment. So I think I saw on your website something about one size doesn't fit all, and you've just
Definitely not.
brought that home for us.
Yeah. And even I'm not, it's for podcast, you won't be able to see behind me, but I've got some of I love learning.
Yes.
I'm a lover of learning and I've had some of my certificates in a cupboard. They are, if you
Mhm.
think about the dollar value that has gone into learning
Yeah.
and doing those things, I'm like, I love them. So why don't I have them displayed behind me?
Yeah.
Mr. Farmer probably shudders every time he walks in here because we have a double brick house. So there's all
Oh,
different levels of, um, the nails that's in the wall. But
yeah.
that's what I love and want to surround myself with. So that's what we do have. And even in our lounge room, we have lots of photos in there. He's an Elvis lover. So there's Elvis books in there. There's an
Yeah.
ugly Elvis head, which I hate, but he loves. So it's that compromise of what happens in the household. There's some cross stitch designs, which are quotes that I found a great cross stitch company that wasn't just the house and the flower design. So it's having your personality within your house. And then coming back to those photos, I definitely like if you look at my lounge room, they are probably of when my kids were 7 years ago when there aren't many fresh new photos on there. And that was a real block for me. And I was feeling like there weren't fresh photos on there. But
Mhm.
our favorite gift, and I encourage people to consider, particularly if they're living away from family, is a digital photo album
Mm.
that you can have in your house that's connected to an app. So my brother will send photos to my photo album or photo frame,
Yeah.
and I can see my nieces and nephews regularly, and I can send photos to his and the grandparents. So there's always fresh photos in there. They're getting off our phones, and you can put short videos on there as well. So if anyone is looking for a intentional gift that's going to have so much joy in people's life, I would probably spend at least 5 to 10 minutes looking at that photo album each day. It's a beautiful way to have you and get things off your phone and being able to see them more often. It's a very good talking point to show the kids
Mm.
some things of photos before they were born as well.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I've got a friend who has one. She actually bought me one. I use it as an alarm clock. I haven't actually
Yeah.
used it as photos, but I know every time I'm at her place, I can see the different photos, and there's quite a few of us, like her and myself on there, and it's a little bit nostalgic. There's those moments of excitement where it's like, oh my goodness, I remember that. So you're so right. It not only helps with the decluttering of, how many hundreds of photos have you got in the top of the wardrobe, but you've got something not only from this moment, but also from the past if you are concerned about putting photos away and not having that clutter around. I really like that idea. Thanks for sharing that. There was something else you said before that really hit home. Uh, seeing I I know at work, or when I used to work in an organization, I worked in management positions as well. And something I tried hard to do, it didn't always work, but people come to you as the manager and they're like, oh, what should I do? And I imagine, kids are the same. And like you were talking about educating people in the household, this is where the sauces are kept, this is where the saucepans are, or this is where the spare linen is, rather than someone coming and saying, whether it be at work, how do I do this? And simply answering them, giving them the answer. Or even at home, if hubby comes along and says, where's the spare linen? And you just tell him, actually educating people on, well, either this is where it is, so next time you'll know, or even at work, well, what do you think the answer is? What would you do if you were in my shoes and you couldn't find the linen?
Yep.
So, actually, like you said, empowering people to find the answers themselves or help build the system, perhaps. Is that something that you do with your clients?
100%. And there's so many synergies. And if something is or isn't working in your home or work life, you can transfer them as well. Even thinking about a work in progress meeting, that's quite common in businesses on a Monday morning of what everyone's up to and what they're planning to do. We have a version of that for a Sunday night of Set Me Up Sunday or Simplify on Sunday that we talk about, of having a chat with my husband and myself. And as the kids have got older, including them in it as well. Just
Mm.
everyone being able to say, these are our priorities for the week. This is where I'm going to be. I'm not going to be accessible for pickups and drop offs and things like that. So it's then all clear and in a diary that everyone can access. So that's a system that we use of a Google Calendar
Mhm.
that my husband can see where I'm going and what's happening as well. So that is one system. But also talking back around finding things, say, in the fridge. If there can be a common place where you can find things, it makes it quicker to find them the next time. So have a think about how your fridge is set up. You'll probably find common places that the milk's normally on the top shelf or
Mhm.
the sauces is normally in the door. If we can not expect everyone else to notice that pattern and say, this is where we're going to aim to have the condiments in this section,
Mhm.
the meat that's already cooked in one section and the uncooked meat in a different section. I actually studied food science and technology.
Ah.
So it is actually quite important to make sure the raw and the cooked things are in separate places. So if they've got a space and a system, that's going to be easier for everyone to put things away when you're unpacking the groceries from coming home. And
Mhm.
then if we think about the linen cupboard and the sheets, Most families have some double beds, queen beds, single beds. If there can be a spot in that linen cupboard where my favorite way of labeling is just with a normal sticky tape and a permanent marker. So the edge of a ledge that just says single beds, double beds, king size beds. So we know where we're looking. You're not having to ask mum where things are, and you're getting people to put things away. So then you're not the sole person that's doing all that. And I talk about trying to empower family members to take the lead on things. And I encourage people to stop, focus, notice, and see, are they the sole person changing beds and putting sheets back on? And if your kids are getting to be, even young kids can still be part of the process, and then over time they can take over and be able to do those things themselves as well. So it's really important to get the information out of your head, work with your family of the best way that's going to work for them. Younger kids may need pictures rather than words, and empower them to be able to be part of the system, because there's only so much time in our day, and if you're solely responsible for doing all the boring the boring tasks,
Yeah.
why do they get to spend more time on TikTok doing the things they enjoy?
Yeah.
What if we all spent 1% of our day, which is 14.4 minutes? So if we're thinking roughly 15 minutes is 1% of your day, if everyone's working and doing different elements of household life, everyone can have at least 1% of their day to do things that they love, because it's very common that the mum is working from dusk till dawn, looking after everyone in the house, which a lot of the times is done with love, but that's when the resentment can start building up. And if we can work as a team in a household to do all the things that are required, we can all have some time to do the things that we love.
Yes, I do love that. One thing I just picked up there, I don't know if anybody else will pick this up. What you're telling me, Bridget, is I don't need a label maker. I only need sticky tape and a
No,
pen.
because that's just another issue,
Another thing.
another thing to have. And that's probably something really good to talk about, because a lot of the first thing where people will get organized, they'll go out and buy more storage containers, and we're
Guilty.
getting the dopamine hit. We're going to one of those places and buying lots of things. There's a likelihood we haven't measured beforehand, and we end up with things that don't fit, and there's an extra step of going back and returning things, which normally doesn't happen. Rah rah rah. So what I encourage people to do is to do the declutter first. Let's work out truly what we need to be storing. So hopefully we're going to need less storage containers. Another thing I say is to sort, to simplify, and then systemize. So the
Mm.
sorting is putting your like with your like. So you know how many double bed sheet sets you have, or how many doonas. Doona covers are the thing that most linen cupboards have a lot of, and no one is actually
Oh,
going back and using all the 10 doonas that we have purchased before. So
okay.
seeing how many do we need to have as a family. Obviously, when kids are a bit younger, we've needed to change beds more often. You may need a few more single beds, but if there's no single beds in your house and you still have 10 single bed sheets in your linen cupboard, maybe it's time to do a declutter and work out of have less of those.
Yeah.
And that's a simplifying step, reducing the amount of things you have. And a critical step a lot of people miss is, what's the system that's going to keep that space organized or functional for the household? With those labels of the start with the sticky tape and the permanent marker, yes, you're more than welcome to use the fancy labeler down the track if that makes you feel like it's a little bit neater. But start with the simple, done is better than perfect. And then you may actually find out you need to adjust the labels and you don't need as many of that going forward. And then communicating the new system to the people that are going to use that space, so we can all use it rather than just
Mm.
organizing. So mum has to be the one to put it all away after.
I love that saying, done is better than perfect. I've borrowed it from many people. That I can hear some of my clients in the back of my head going, but I'm a perfectionist. Of course, we're working on that.
Hands up
Uh,
here.
I'm a perfectionist and everything just needs to be on the right angle and the same color. Or what if I'm not good with strategy? It's not my strong point. So what happens, like, if for those of you who might be listening who are sitting here going, oh my God, sticky tape and a permanent marker, or doing the declutter before labeling, or not buying more stuff, what is actually, and you've got multiple degrees and lots of credentials. So what is going on in the mind and the body when you see this in your clients, that uncomfortable, that discomfort?
Yeah, we don't like change. We don't like doing
We
things
don't, do we?
differently, and our brain has done the same thing so many times, and it's easier and simpler for us to do that. So that's why we tend to go on that hamster wheel of doing the same thing over and over again. But if we keep doing the same thing over and over again and there's resentment and it's not working, that's when we need to change. If your systems are working really well, if you're happy with the amount of time you're spending in your household, getting it to that perfect level, if that's working, there is no need to change and you're welcome to continue doing it that way. But if you're looking to free up some of your time, if you're looking to empower your kids to create adults that have these systems, like you're teaching your children to be capable adults in the future and know how to do these things, it's going to be hard and it's going to take a little bit of time. But think of yourself a year from now, you'll be grateful that you've put these systems in place now. So it's the hard bit of the starting, and that's why it's starting with one simple space. So we're not going to flip every bedroom, every cupboard, every wardrobe overnight. We're going to start with one, see how that goes, watch and stop, focus, notice what's working for our family, and then leave that for a little bit and then use and adapt that for the next area you go and work on. So if you think of spaces in your home, the kitchen is probably a common space that is always being used, stuff's moving around all the time. So it's a great place to start. And another space, if you think of individuals, is wardrobes, because everyone is going in and out of their wardrobes. And if we can reduce the amount of clothes or come up with a system so everything doesn't end up on the floor when we're getting dressed, that's where we can free up some time. So yeah, change is hard, but looking to the future and how you're going to feel down the track once the systems have been put in place, it can be worthwhile for a lot of people.
Yeah, I may need to call you about that whole wardrobe thing. I do love well, I don't love my floor but that's one place that I really do struggle to keep neat. Um, you said something about doing, it can be hard to begin with. Like you said, we don't like change. And I think it was Mel Robbins said this recently. Of course, I've heard it a few times before, but do the hard things, and I'm paraphrasing, do the hard things now for an easier life later. So we can either do the easy things now and we make it harder for ourselves later on in life, or we can do the hard now to have an easier life in the future. So I think I'm hearing that a lot of this is not necessarily to say that it's all hard, but if we actually stop, focus, and notice now, and we put those systems in, what did you say, sort, simplify, and systemize
Mhm.
now, then like you said, we're going to have more time to do those things that we want to do, that we love doing, that 1% of the day, even if it's only 1% of the day. Something I really want to ask you here, Bridget, because we're talking a lot about families. Obviously, this does work if you're single or just a couple without kids. But speaking of kids, how do we, or is there a right age to get kids involved? Or I guess, or how do we get them involved? You mentioned something earlier about pictures rather than words, but I think this might be a challenge for some of our listeners.
100%. And it's a staged approach. And we talk about the seasons of life, and you think we're not making a toddler drive a car. So it's the
Yes.
same analogy of what's age appropriate for them. But sometimes the toddlers or the young kids are the ones that want to help out a bit more,
Okay.
but so, that could be hindering. But start simply with taking plates to the dishwasher and helping set tables for younger age kids, and then build it over time and recognize we aim for that 80-20 principle. We're not wanting people, even ourselves, to do anything 100% of the time. So watch people's moods if they're hangry and things like that. So don't expect the kids to do
Yeah.
everything perfectly.
Yeah.
And even if we look at beds, some people will do the hospital corners and have their beds made perfectly every time, but start with just having the kids putting the doona over the top of the
Mm.
bed so there's at least a clearer space. And then as they grow older, we can teach them how to make it more streamlined of making a bed.
Yeah.
And I suppose it comes back to kids and even us. I talk about having our kitchen reset every night. I don't even enjoy doing that every night, but it's looking after future me and looking
Mm.
after future selves, of thinking when I wake up in the morning, I'll be much more grateful of starting with a clear slate and working with the family the night before. So, as I said, my kids are now 11 and 13. So they have eaten food from that kitchen. They have had the plates on the dining room table. So there is an expectation that the four of us in our family have eaten the food, so we reset the space. Sometimes that's all four of us. Sometimes it's myself. Sometimes it's just my husband. Sometimes it's one or both of the kids. And we just adapt to what's happening on that night of the week of who does what. So it's realizing that these are skills the kids are going to need when they leave home, and we're helping them learn how to do things throughout their teen years. We definitely got some more of the grunts coming in from teenage boys and preteen girls. But yeah, it's understanding that this is a system that's going to help all of us be able to go out and shoot netball shots afterwards, or go for a mountain bike ride. My son's building mountain bike jumps out the front. So yeah,
Cool.
there's just that expectation as a family. We're working together to get it done. And we reset things. So for example, we'll have a family meeting to discuss any issues that are coming up. We found when the kids were 4 and 6, having the TV on in the morning and going straight to watch TV after school meant that they weren't getting their morning jobs done, or there was some push and pull of, oh no, I want to stay until this episode ends, which was adding more stress into our mornings because our kids need to be on a school bus to get into school and kindy. So we sat down and shared how that was affecting all of us. At the time, I was studying my positive psychology studies and saying I had no time, in quotation marks, to do my
Uh-huh.
study. But when I stopped focus notice, I was watching 6 hours of Married at First Sight during the week and then saying I had no time to do my
Yeah.
study. So we agreed as a family that we were going to stop watching TV in the mornings and afternoons,
Mhm.
Monday to Friday morning, and then Friday afternoon and the weekend was the time we could watch TV when we wanted to. So I didn't think that would actually go down too well with our children, but when we actually sat down together and that was the same rule for the adults and the kids, they were actually
Mm.
quite open to that and we trialed it. That's probably a key
Yeah.
word when you're changing things. We trialed that. And we
Yes.
still do a version of that today. So, yeah, what's that? Um, yeah, what is it? 7 years later,
Yep.
we're still doing a version. There's no TV in the morning. The kids do have some time on their iPads that's locked down with screen time. They have 20 minutes in the afternoon. Yeah, so it's working out what works for your family and giving it a go, realizing that you'll have some pushback. That's what kids' jobs are. Their job is to push the boundaries and
Yes.
see what is a hard boundary and what can be pushed. So realize that give things a go, adjust and change, and know that just because another family does it, it might not mean it's the right thing for you. So work out what's right for your family at this time of the season of life.
That's right. And I think that's what stops us from moving forward with some of these things, whether it's with kids or a partner or even at work with staff, is we might introduce something new. And like you say, there's that pushback or there's a tantrum or a meltdown or just that, no, I'm not going to do this. I don't like change. And so if we go, oh, okay, well, we just won't do that. Well, of course, nothing is going to change. Our brain loves repetition. So even the repetition that's perhaps not so good for us, it is important that we push through. As we were talking about before, do some of the hard things now to make our life easier. So, yes, there are so many things that we can avoid because it makes us uncomfortable or we don't want to put up with the pushback. But actually, it doesn't take long if we keep with that, say for 5 days or 2 weeks, or sometimes it might be a month. But actually, once we start repeating a new habit, we can actually change very quickly, can't we?
Yeah, definitely. And it's working out what's right for this moment of time as well. So give
That's
it a
right.
go, trial it, give it some time to trial it, but if needed, adjust it down the track
Yeah.
too.
Be flexible is what I'm hearing
Mhm.
there. Um, you mentioned the 1% pockets of your day earlier, and I think that's one of the first things I saw on your website when I looked at it. 1% of pockets of your day. Can you help us understand that a little bit better?
We are so busy. Life is so busy. That's how Be Simply Free started. I was adding more and more into my already busy life until I burnt out. And it can feel really hard that we don't have any time. It's a common thing. People say, I've got no time to do anything. But if we look at our day and what's happening, do we really want to live a life where we can't even find 1% of our day to do something we truly love? And then on the other side of things, if we're trying to do hard things, let's try and just do 1% to get it moving forward. So I do like that it's 15 minutes of a day is 1% of your day. And if we're trying to build those habits, it's a good way of breaking it down. You're not even doing an hour of your day, you're just making it down into a 15-minute block. And that can be really helpful for getting in and building those habits. As I said, we probably spend less than 15 minutes resetting the kitchen. The more people that are in there, the quicker time it takes. But that's just our evening routine that we have the space reset there. But it's a good way of starting a decluttering process. Let's just set a timer, and the achievement is spending 1%, so 15 minutes of time to declutter one drawer.
Mm.
Because starting to declutter, particularly say a spare bedroom where I'm sitting in now, it can seem too overwhelming. So maybe it's spending 15 minutes going through one box and working and doing that and simplify. You're probably not getting to the systemize step if you're going through quite a few boxes,
Right.
and it's just getting started. And talking about when you are getting started to do that decluttering, remember there's going to be a messy middle. We
Mm.
can't have everything looking perfect straight away. Most people don't start the decluttering process because they don't feel like they have a whole day to do decluttering a whole room. So that's when we can break it down into 15-minute blocks and get it started. Normally, your motivation will continue on. If you've got a bit more time, you might do a half an hour or even an hour. But saying, yes, I've done what I've said I was going to do if I get through that 15-minute timer is a great way to start. And yeah, I'd really encourage people to also add into their day doing 1% of the day for themselves. For me, it could be cross stitch or reading my book and try and do it without the phone. So I wouldn't
Mm.
say 15 minutes is a social media scroll. It's doing something to nourish your body rather than to self-soothe. So sitting outside without some technology and sitting in the sunshine, some getting some vitamin D, going and shooting some netball goals with a kid, or just getting out there and doing something for you without a phone would be something I would love everyone to think about.
Oh, I'm right there with you. Yeah, if we could just put the devices down for a little while, and we're all guilty of it from time to time. I love the idea of sitting outside without a device, just with a cup of coffee or a book, or even without anything at all, and simply enjoying the fact that we're outside in nature, we're breathing in beautiful, hopefully clean air. Yeah, and just reminding our brain, because like you say, we're busy, busy, busy. All of my clients know that I don't accept that word. We all have a bit of a laugh about it now because they're like, I know that you don't like that because it's a bit of a BS word, right? It's
Hmm.
just, it explains nothing. But we do. We've got full lives. We're fitting lots in. We've got families. We've got work. We've got social lives, things that we enjoy doing. Kids have sports, all of that type of thing. But again, this is perhaps we can be doing less and being more. And if it's simply introducing that 1%, 15 minutes, and everyone can find 15 minutes. I always say, if you think, like you said, oh, I didn't have time, but actually I was watching 6 hours of TV a week. Anybody who
Hmm.
thinks they don't have the time, give one of us a call. We'll find you the time. We'll find you that
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Go look on your screen time feature on your phone. That's a scary place to see how
Yeah.
many minutes or hours you're spending per day or per week on your phone. Like, I'd be surprised. I'd be quite, a lot of people would probably be spending 24 hours a week on your phone. That's a whole day, either talking or on social media and things like that. I had the privilege of, I'm part of a leadership program where we had 12 days offline without a phone. And for the first 2 days, I was tapping my back pocket looking for that phone. It's such an attachment. But by day three, I was so didn't even think about it. It was the best thing ever. So it was an absolute privilege to be able to have that time out of my everyday life, home life. My kids couldn't ask where the source was or where the anything was in our house. We put those systems to the test, and
Yep.
they didn't do it exactly how I would do things, but they were able to survive and get everything washed and have a clean house and feed themselves in there as well. So
Mm.
yeah, it's a really good reminder to look at your phone use. I've even deleted Facebook and Instagram off my phone for the moment,
Hmm.
just to see how often I grab for that and what the first thing was that I was opening when those notifications came up. So yeah,
Yeah.
your screen time will tell you the first app you open when you open your phone. So it's really interesting. Use that data and
Yes.
then put some stop focus notice and put some systems in place. I'm sure I'll add my Instagram back in. I obviously have a business and use it quite often, but at the moment I can do enough on the Meta Business Suite app to keep that going. But
Yeah.
once I've changed some of those habits, I can add it back in with a bit more confidence that it's not going to be the automatic grab of my time.
That's right. And like you said, we're not saying don't have a phone, don't have a device. It would be a challenge to live life these days without a phone or a laptop or an iPad or a version of all of these. It's simply being more mindful of what we use, when we use it, and how we use it.
Hmm.
So, we've talked a lot about the physical decluttering and some of the benefits that come from that, but there's obviously a link between mental load and physical clutter. And, I've heard people say in the past, your physical environment is a reflection of what's going on in your mind or what your head might look like. So, can you tell us briefly what clearing some of that physical clutter can actually do for your mind or what starts happening then?
It can be that visual, it just blurs our thoughts. There's too many things going on for a lot of people when they see so much around them. So when we can clear some spaces, it allows us to not have the distractions. Particularly, I work from home. So if I'm walking into a kitchen and it's a big mess, it can be a procrastination tactic for me to go
Yeah.
retidy that. But if I'm walking past a kitchen that is reset, I can stay on track a bit more. So if you think about going into a supermarket or a lolly store where there's so much choice, it can be distracting and you can take more mental energy to think exactly what you want. But if you can curate your environment and have exactly what you need around you and have less stuff in front of you, it can make quicker choices and make us feel a bit calmer and we can get what we actually need done. So yeah, when we've got more clutter, it can increase our cortisol levels and make us a bit more stressed. So
Mhm.
I find by having spaces reset, it allows myself and my family to focus on what we're actually needing to do and hopefully spend more time together rather than be distracted by all the things around us. So having some white space in our physical spaces and our calendars, that's probably another thing to think about with when we think of clutter surrounding ourselves. So we've got that not overcommitting our time so we can really focus on what we want to do there as well. But yeah, when the mental load also is the things that we're thinking in our head as well.
Mm.
So being able to communicate with what's happening in our brain also helps us to calm down as well. So by
Mm.
decluttering our mental space, we are sharing how we're feeling in situations, talking through issues that we're coming up with. And a lot of the time, by talking through something, we can make something not feel as overwhelming as it was and come up with a either written or verbal action plan for making some changes. So clutter is all around us and also in all our devices as well.
That's right. And the term decision fatigue, comes up from time to time as well when we're in that cluttered space. Like you're saying, it's a bit of a procrastination technique for you, your brain doing its absolute best job to avoid something because you have to make a decision about where do I start, what do I get out of the fridge, for example, and we overload our minds with how many we've got so many decisions we have to make on a daily basis if we don't have systems. It was Steve Jobs who wore the
Hmm.
black t-shirt, black jeans, white trainers every single day. Now some people might go, oh well, that's really boring, I don't want to do that. And that's okay if you enjoy your fashion. But the reason he did that, he said something like, I've got 300 decisions to make every single day. You times that by 7 days a week, by 30 odd days a month,
Hmm.
times 365 a year. That's a lot of decisions we make. So he essentially took 365 decisions out of his year just by saying, this is what I'm going to wear every single day.
Yep.
So we actually,
Obama, it was the
yes,
same. How
exactly.
Stefanovic wore on TV for a whole year
Yes.
and no one actually noticed.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not important to anybody else. But if we can do that with a couple of things, like with some of the things that you suggested, then we're taking that decision fatigue away. And we've got, as you keep saying, more space around us for the things that matter to us. Okay, well, I want to start wrapping this up. I could talk to you for hours about this, and I'm actually feeling really inspired. I feel like I'm gonna put 15 minutes aside straight after this to tidy my desk up and declutter a little bit. But could you just tell us two things that I want to touch on before we finish up, Bridget? What are some of the longer term shifts that you see with your clients once they actually start this decluttering process and they maintain habits? Have you got some cool stories that you can share with us?
Yes, when you have the systems in place, and as you said, there's less decision fatigue around the everyday life, it can allow you to have that space to actually make some longer term lifestyle changes. Some of my one-on-one clients, we've been so caught up in the day-to-day life, and once we have simplified those systems, they've really thought, is this the right career for me? And have taken steps to change their career. And yeah, it's been very beautiful to see that long-term change in someone and have the confidence to apply for something that they wouldn't have applied for before.
Mm.
And the other thing, if I think about if we're spending less time every day managing all the excess physical clutter, if we can take the time to declutter our spaces, it does really free up our time to do more of the things we want. So families going away on that 6-week holiday that's been a pipeline dream,
Mhm.
while it seems bizarre to talk about decluttering, actually be that because you're having more discussions as a family, what your priorities are. And when you are leaving for 6 weeks and having someone else come and house sit in your house, it definitely makes the process easier that there's not a lot of stuff in their space as well. So
Yeah.
yes, it can, I hope it is life-changing for people to think about a boring task of decluttering a drawer can lead to lifetime changes of really setting your life up for what you want it to be. And probably even just touching on that as well, when we talk about decluttering, it's also about stopping doing things. And think about in this season of your life, have you overcommitted your time with some volunteering responsibilities? I know when I had my overcommitment, I was the chairperson of childcare, the treasurer of the kindergarten, and things like that. So I stopped some of those volunteering activities for a period of time so I could focus on my priorities. And now I'm doing it again. I'm back into those volunteering roles. So just because you stop for a month, 6 months, or a year, you can always come back to things. But what is the highest use of your time right in this season of your life, and work out what that is. So you're making sure you're living your not life and you're not just doing things for the sake of it or because someone expects you to do it. You choose what's the right thing for you.
That's right. And you've used the word seasons a lot today, which I love. So, what's right for you in this season? And remembering that one size does not fit all. What works for you may not work for me, may half work for the next person. So, it really is finding what works for each and every one of us. Bridget, if people want to know more about what to do, what not to do, or even just get some more tips from you, how do they find you?
Yes, go on to besimplyfree.com.au for the website. There's lots of blogs on there. I talk about my time without 12 days without my phone. And then I do love sharing on social media. So Instagram's my favorite place to hang out, which is be.simplyfree. So have a scroll back through there. There's lots of tips and ideas that you can try in there as well. And if you're wanting some more personalized support, I can work one-on-one with people. And there's some courses on the website if you want to try some things straight away. So, yes, I love supporting women and their extended families as well to think and stop, focus, notice so we can spend more time collecting moments, not things.
Love that. What a beautiful place to end. Bridget, thank you so much for coming on the Brain Changes today. I've learned a lot. I've got a page of notes. I am off to tidy my desk. Thank you very much for the inspiration. And listeners, please remember, when you change your mind, you change your life. Bye for now.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Brain Changes. We hope you've enjoyed the conversation today. Please like and subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest episodes. Our mission is to reach as many people as possible to help them revolutionize the way they think so they can change their brain and create profound transformation. Please help us broaden our reach by sharing this episode with someone you know will benefit. And remember to tag us on socials at Moonbeam Monday and leave a review. And remember, when you change your mind, you change your life. We'll catch you next time for another episode of The Brain Changers.